meditation solely for the sake of finding happiness and bliss, through suppressing the mental objects or restraining defilements, it can still be considered samadhi, concentration. However, it's not the type of samadhi that is part of the noble path. It's good as well, but good in terms of inner happiness, but it's not right in terms of aiming at liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from upadana, attachment and clinging. Therefore, if we don't train this very mind, this knowing element, then ignorance, craving, and attachment will continue to train the mind, as they have been doing for a long time. Therefore, at this moment, the mind is under the power of ignorance, craving, and attachment, avijja, tanha, and upadana, and we have liking and disliking arise. But human beings can train the mind to become stronger. We have thoughts of harming others, thoughts of greed, anger, or delusion. They arise under the influence of ignorance, craving, and attachment. These forces have been shaping the mind for a long time. Now we have to resist them. This is called going against the current, against the flow. The flow of water naturally runs from high places down to the rivers, streams, and sea, always going downwards. This is the nature of water. We must go against the current of emotions, against the current of defilements, so that our mind can enter the current of the Dhamma. If we are in the current of Dhamma, what's called entering the stream, it will also flow towards liberation. Therefore, to bring the mind into the stream of Dhamma, we must change our existing views. Our original view is that whatever feelings arise, we see it as me or mine. Whatever happens, we perceive it in terms of a self, as being ours. Even the Blessed One, the Lord Buddha, when he was born, he also had the sense of self, me and mine, but it was different. His sense of self, his me and mine, existed as well, but it was the me and mine that was destined to become a Sama Sambuddha, a perfectly self-awakened Buddha, who would help sentient beings be free from suffering. Thus, the peace and calm and spiritual perfections, the barami of the Buddha, was already fully developed. So when those perfections came together, achieving high levels of concentration was not difficult for him. But if we practice meditation to attain jhana or samapatti, deep meditative absorptions, even if we are reborn again for hundreds of thousands or millions of lifetimes, it will still be uncertain whether we'll actually attain it or not. That's the difference. So the difference is that the Buddha was a special human being with extraordinary spiritual capabilities. We say he had supreme spiritual perfections, what we call barami. One who establishes the dispensation needs to have great merit and supreme spiritual perfections. So we see examples of these differences in this present life, where some people are born with special knowledge or talents. They're able to do things better than others. So even though we are just an ordinary person, can we still understand the Dhamma that the Buddha taught? Yes, we can. Venerable Ajahn Chah once said something that at first I found confusing and unclear. He said that there's a knowledge of education, medicine, of nursing. These knowledges exist. Those who have completed their studies in those knowledges, they'll become doctors, nurses, engineers, accountants, and so on, according to the world's various professions. In the same way, the Buddha came to study nature until he reached full realization and became a Sama Sambuddha. one who attained enlightenment by his own efforts. That is, he had no teacher and no one to instruct him, but he discovered it by himself. As for the Buddha's disciples, no matter how capable they were, they couldn't realize the truth on their own. They didn't have enough wisdom. They had to rely on the teachings of the Samma Sambuddha. So we also follow the Buddha's teachings. We study the knowledge that he taught, and through that, we too can attain to the awakening of the Buddha as well. But can the Buddha grant us enlightenment? He eradicated all kilesas, the mental defilements. But the term eradicated defilements means he eradicated them within himself. He didn't remove the defilements from everyone in the world or from all beings. If the Buddha could have done that, he would have. What he did was to walk the path of sila, samadhi, panya, morality, concentration, and wisdom. Through wisdom, insight arose, and the defilements were destroyed. Or to put it another way, the defilements still exist, but they couldn't affect him. They couldn't affect the Samma Sambuddha at all. However, defilements haven't disappeared from the whole world. They still remain in our minds. When we first start practicing the Dhamma, we might think, wouldn't it be nice if the Buddha had destroyed all defilements once and for all? It would seem easier, but it doesn't work that way. The Dhamma teaches, Attahi atano nato, kohi nato parosiya. One truly is one's own refuge. Who else could be one's refuge? We need to bring up effort to do it ourselves. Even when it comes to our own bodies, if we want to keep them healthy, don't we have to do it ourselves? We have to be careful about food, air, water, rest, stress, and exercise. We have to take care of all that ourselves. The doctors and nurses can only tell us what's beneficial for the body and what's harmful. But if we don't stop harmful behaviors, then nothing changes. There's no benefit. We have to do it ourselves. To give up things on our own, to abandon things on our own. That's how it is with the body, and so it is with the mind. The Buddha had already shown the path, but we have to walk it ourselves. However, during the Buddha's time, not only did he show the path, but he also had skillful means. He knew how to teach, how to guide effectively. That's why the Buddha is called Sattha Dewa Manusanang, the teacher of gods and humans. That is what's called teaching according to a person's temperament. The Buddha's disciples had already accumulated merits alongside him, so when he taught them in a way that matched their temperament, they were able to understand, and understand quickly. If one doesn't understand defilements, they are unable to be taught. That person becomes someone without the spiritual potential to realize the Dhamma. Take the case of Venerable Chula Pantaka. His elder brother, Maha Pantaka, was highly capable. He attained arahantship, along with the higher analytical knowledges. But the younger brother couldn't grasp or study anything. He couldn't even remember the Buddha's teachings. In today's terms, we might call that having a short attention span. He simply couldn't memorize anything. So his brother told him to disrobe, thinking he wasn't capable of living the monastic life. But the Buddha understood Chula Pantaka's temperament. He also knew that Chula Pantaka was receiving past karmic consequences. He had criticized someone for reciting the Dhamma Vinaya, the teachings and discipline. The Buddha then personally taught Chula Pantaka by instructing him to meditate using the phrase Rajo Haranang Rajang Harati, meaning impurity is removed. He was to contemplate how a clean white cloth becomes soiled with impurity. As he practiced reciting this phrase during the hot season, his sweat stained the cloth and it became dark. Then the Buddha, through his resolve, made the cloth appear even darker. When Venerable Chulapantaka saw the cloth, he was shocked, wondering why the body was this dirty. Then the Buddha came and gave him a teaching. As a result, he attained arahantship, along with all the analytical knowledges and supernatural powers. This shows that the Buddha could indeed help. But if we don't engage in meditation practice, or don't follow the instructions, then we won't succeed. The Buddha could support and uplift someone's practice. He taught at just the right moment, and this is an example. But even for us today, sometimes we may also encounter the right moment. For instance, by listening to Dhamma talks or recorded teachings from great masters about the state of liberation, it may enter deeply at the right time. Take this hall, for example. It's just a conventional structure. If there are only about 10 people here, the hall feels big and spacious. That's a perception of the mind. But if 300 people are here, the same hall feels cramped and small. Again, it's just a perception of the mind. It feels smaller. The hall itself isn't big or small. This is tanha, craving. It conditions the mind to perceive it that way. He may give an example. Is this nimitta, boundary, sphere, stone, is it big or small? If we want it to be big, then the stone seems small. If we want the stone to be small, then this stone seems big. That's how it is. But if we view it with a sense of balance, see it according to the truth, then insight arises. It's like this. When the mind fabricates, it creates material things and objects, glasses of water, halls, everything. It's all conventions arising. But if the mind doesn't fabricate, none of it exists. It's just natural. However, the human mind constantly fabricates. Once it does, the sense of self arises. That's why we have to train in mindfulness and concentration, develop them well, make them stable, so we can understand the teachings of the Buddha. Then we too can become awakened in this very life. So even ordinary people like us can do this. Buddhism is a religion of peace. We don't harm oneself and don't harm others. We come to pay homage and to accept, to believe the Buddha. So then we should also accept the Dhamma. We accept that the Buddha truly attained enlightenment, that he possessed supreme compassion and supreme purity, but we still have not fully accepted his Dhamma, the true essence of what the Buddha taught. The Buddha had accepted the Dhamma already, and through that he attained enlightenment. We too must come to accept the Dhamma, come to see the Dhamma, which means seeing impermanence, seeing the nature of change, to see the Dhamma within the mind, that the mind is constantly fabricating. This itself is Dhamma. Everything is Dhamma. There is no real self, me or mine. But when the mind is deluded, it creates the illusion of me and others. Dividing and separating, it causes turmoil. This is why we must train and cultivate our minds thoroughly, make them good and firm, so that the heart may blossom like a lotus in full bloom. When the mind sees the Dhamma, it blossoms. A mind filled with Dhamma is a fulfilled mind, joyful, content, and peaceful. What does everyone in the world desire? Wealth, status, praise, and happiness. People believe that if they have these things, they'll be happy, right? But what happens if they get them and then lose them? Say you have a diamond worth $1 million or $2 million and it falls into the sea or disappears. What then? Would you still be happy, or would you suffer? If we see happiness and joy as arising from wealth, but then the wealth is taken away, like when a call center scam tricks someone, some people end up committing suicide. Others fall into depression or ongoing suffering. Every time they think about it, suffering arises again. That's suffering. But some people, realizing that having wealth can lead to such suffering, decide to turn it around. They use it for making merit, for doing good, for public benefit. And by doing so, they bring up happiness. They do it according to one's means, or of the faith of an intelligent person who knows how to make good use of their wealth, and thus happiness arises. So the things we desire in life aren't necessarily bad. That is, if we have mindfulness and wisdom to protect the heart. But if we lack wisdom, those things can become causes of suffering. However, if we understand Dhamma, there is joy in the Dhamma arising, then there is a sense of inner fulfillment. We see into the Dhamma. We see that all these things are simply part of the world, but our inner feeling is greater. It's full and contented. At this point, we may even feel that all the things of the world belong to the world, and we don't want any of it. What we truly want is to have Dhamma. So we keep striving in our Dhamma practice, practicing dana, generosity, sila, morality, and listening to Dhamma, and gradually we develop the mind. And one day we will come to see the Dhamma, to see the Buddha. That is when we truly become disciples of the Sammasambuddha, just as we aspire to be. The suffering in our hearts will gradually diminish until eventually there's no more suffering. This is what it means to enter the stream of Dhamma, where the heart itself becomes the Dhamma. May you grow in blessings.